Hello, welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts. Hey, Mandy, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am good. Good.
You had a good weekend. I want to hear all about it.
I did. I had a busy weekend. First busy weekend in a good little while. But it was nice. I had some family in town. My cousin's kiddos, like he has three boys and a girl, and all three boys play football and had three back-to-back games for the second week in a row. In Abilene, which is really nice for me. Not nice for them. They have to travel. But so yeah, I got to watch kids play football this weekend, took them to the fair. Paisley had a production. She had a lead in a play that ended up being like, I mean, she never left the stage. It was like an hour Paisley monologue, but it was so good. She killed it. So watched that a couple of times. So that was really good. It was also homecoming weekend. So we had, you
Busy
know,
girls.
all of that and the pictures and the fun times. But yeah, it was a Aunt Mandy slash mama kind of weekend, but it was really good. It
Yeah,
was a good one.
I
Strange
love
that I
that.
had more going on than you though.
I
That
know.
never happens.
I overscheduled myself last week, so we took a little bit of downtime. We did have a fun night out on Friday night for a friend's daughter's birthday, and it was a cool place that we went to. It's called Frankie Martin's. I'm sure anyone in St. Louis has heard of it, but it's just an outdoor place with food trucks and drinks and all the fun stuff. That was in a band. They had a good country band, which was fun.
Nice.
So that was a fun night, but otherwise just a lot of relaxing at home. And we should have gone boating. It was so nice, or it was hot,
Yeah.
and it was like, that's a lot of work. So I'm glad that Dan was on the same page with me because sometimes he doesn't like to be as lazy as I do. But he was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
I
let's
can do
relax.
lazy. Yeah. But last week, like I said, I overscheduled myself so horrendously with classes and lives. And then there was, swim meets and the regular stuff. But I didn't have a single night that wasn't packed with something. So I needed that time. But one of the funnest things that I did last week was one of the social media classes that I did. And it was for a group, and they sell the super patch. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the super patch, but it is a patch that you put on and it works. I shouldn't even tell people about this because I don't really know how it works.
Because you're like, I
It
don't know what I'm
doesn't,
talking about, but it's
it,
so cool.
yeah, it doesn't have any ingredients or anything, but there's something it works with like your brain and I don't know, but they have ones for like that help with focus, that help with sleep, that help with balance, that help with pain. I mean, they have ones for like everything. And it was really interesting because they, were talking about their social media, and I love to work with people who sell things
Yeah.
on their social media because those people can get a bad rap if they do their social media too like salesy and in your face, and then people are like, oh, they're just messaging me because they want to sell me something, right? So I love to teach people to find a different way to get that information out there so it doesn't feel salesy, but it still sells stuff, right? And they were telling me about at events they do this thing called the balance test. And the balance test is they show you that you have bad balance, which I absolutely have the worst
You're like,
balance.
I don't need help. I already know.
Yeah, I already knew. But they show you. So they do this thing where you stand like this and they kind of push you, and you fall over a little bit. And then they do another one, a different angle, and then you fall over, whatever. And then they slap this patch on you that helps with balance. And and then they can't do that to you anymore. It's like, what? It was wild. It was
So they
wild.
did the balance test on you and you got to see it firsthand.
Yeah, because I wanted to see how that could maybe be used for social media. Like, what's the best way to get these balance tests out there? Obviously, it's better in person so that you can feel it for yourself because
Yeah.
it could look like they're, you know, making it look like
Yeah.
that, but it's not really
Faking
how
it.
it is. But whenever they do it to you, you're like, whoa, But it's one of those things that it shows immediately it works. They put it on my arm and they try and, push me over, and I'm like, so anyway, so that was kind of fun, and, talk to them about the different ways that they could do their social media. And then we went to dinner after the swim meet on maybe the night after that, and they gave me several extras just to see if I liked them. Like,
Yeah.
a
Samples.
sample pack. And I wanted to show it to the kids because they like do like kind of trick skiing
Uh-huh.
and stuff where they need a lot of balance, and they both have excellent balance. But I was like, it would be really cool to have them get out there and do a run and try and turn around on their ski and all the stuff that they do, and then come back in, put on a patch and go back out there and see if it's easier, you know.
Yeah,
So
see how
I'm
much
telling
different it
them,
would be.
yeah, so I'm telling them about that, and they like Samantha was like kept like taking it off and doing the thing, and she's like, "Oh, this is so crazy," you know, like so they're like trying it out over and over again, and it was a funny kind of situation, but
No, it
um
changes when you take it off immediately and then put it back on
immediately, because
immediately.
there's something with the ions or whatever is in this that is communicating with your brain. It's
That's
weird.
creepy
Mhm.
and exciting and cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is gonna be the thing that I need, because I truly don't care about my balance
Yeah,
specifically,
that's
like,
not a
I'm not falling all the time, right? Like,
yeah,
some people are like, they fall down all the time, or John Dawson, he's, sitting next to me, he goes, "I'll take one of those and try it." I mean, he climbs a ladder all day, he's,
yeah,
you know, he estimates roofs, so he's like, "I could probably use this," and it's like, "Yeah,
yeah.
try it out, see if you like it." But it also, that one for balance is good for inflammation, and so I'm like, I do need to try this for a little while and see if I can maybe not have as much pain. That would be kinda cool. So we're gonna find out, but it was really fun talking to them, and it was really fun to see how passionate they are about this product, and I'm
Obviously,
like,
they believe in it.
they totally believe in it because they just watch it work, and they have people call them crying because their child who was nonverbal autistic is now speaking because of, you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff that's happening that in a lot of these MLM type companies, they have a product that they have decided to sell this way with the multi-level marketing, and they're great freaking products. Like, I have so many of them. But so many people, some people use this as a career, but most people use it as a side hustle, and it's something that they're really passionate about because they want to help people on the side. They're still going to work their 9 to 5 or their career or whatever they're involved in, but they want to also do this because they started using it and now they believe in it so much, right? And they want to help people. I can't have a side hustle at this
I was
point because
just
I'm
thinking
pretty
that.
busy.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in a situation where that made sense to me. You know, working in corporate, we worked with people who did have side hustles and were involved in the MLMs and all that good stuff. And I don't think anybody ever like was chastised or told they couldn't or, formally told it was a bad idea, but the judgment and the talking about them and I think part of it is, it's one thing to have a side hustle, right? To do things on the side. Like you could go drive for Uber or, have an Etsy shop or something like that. But especially with these MLMs, as much as it requires in social media and the way that you show up in your life, I think you kind of get a bad rap on that when you have like a full-time gig. And especially, in a lot of corporate jobs, there's no time left to be doing all of that stuff. And I mean, quite frankly, like the shit talking that came along with some of those people, like they were questioned in whether or not it was taking up their work time, or like, oh, well, if you had extra time, you should have been working on XYZ instead of out there selling, whatever Cincy or whatever it is that you had going on the side. And part of me gets it, but also like I find that really unfair, especially when you're stuck in like a corporate setting where, maybe there isn't anywhere to go up and there's not an
Yeah.
opportunity to earn more money. And the fact is, life's not getting any cheaper.
Only way more expensive every day. I got to tell you. So I haven't spoken about this specifically on this podcast, and I don't even know if I should say it now, but we got a big raise when some kind of law changed and you had to make at least this much kind of thing if you were a salaried employee. I can't remember. And then we got, they fixed up bonus structures and stuff like that, but like every year and especially 2020 with a lot of performance bonuses going away, like I kept making a little bit less money every year. And it's like I'm getting more advanced in my career. I'm getting better at my job. I'm taking on more and I am making less due to not my salary going down, but other
Yeah.
circumstances happening. And it's like I was just passionate about my job, so I was like, it's fine and I'm making enough money, right? Like do I need to be greedy? But if I hadn't been making enough money, if that first like law hadn't gone into place that jumped my salary to a living wage at first, if that hadn't happened, I don't know that I ever would have made it to making a wage that I could have, because I was in a relationship where I lived with
Yeah.
my partner before that, so it was okay. But like once we split and I was on my own, like I wouldn't have been able to afford a home by
To
myself. Like
live.
I would have
Yeah.
been 35 living with a roommate, like if I hadn't gotten more money at work, or I would have had to have a side hustle, or I would have had to leave completely and start a job that maybe made me more money. But so many
That
people
you
don't
didn't
have these
maybe wanna
options.
do. Yep.
Right. So I think that a side hustle can be what gets you by, because if you've got a couple kids and you've got, like you're making a normal, let's call it 50, 60,000 a year, that's not going to be enough in some cases. So like in your case, you can do more work and make more money, right?
But
Because
that's not the
your
case for
contract.
everyone,
Oh,
especially if you're, like, on salary,
yes.
or even if you're hourly, but you have a limit on the number of hours. I mean, in that scenario, that's where a side hustle could really
Yeah,
help
especially
you
those
out.
9 to 5ers where you're leaving your job at work, right? You're not taking it home. That's great. If you can find something to do where you have your evenings available to do that and you want to put your time into more job, then great, I just don't see a problem with a side hustle. I don't love the shame that comes to people who do a side hustle. It's like to me, I'm like, go get your bag, right? Make more money if that's what is the most important thing for you to do over, a different part of your life, because that's what is the priority right now, then go make more money. And a corporation should not be telling you that this is frowned upon or not
Like, that for
allowed.
some reason, it's not acceptable for you to be doing that. Yeah, I don't love that at all. I struggle with that. I struggle with it on both sides, though, and I say that I am not the person to have a side hustle. First of all, I don't wanna work all day long and all night long. I am a mom first, and by God, we're gonna eat, so if I have to, guess we'll
Mhm.
be doing what we have to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, that's not what I wanna do. And I also, like, I love that you're doing, like, the social media classes, helping people to do it in a way that is not so high pressure, because I have those friends that have the side hustles and they sell all the things, and it's like, I don't wanna get caught in those conversations because I'm the person that's gonna feel obligated to buy whatever it is
Mhm.
that you're selling, especially if we're friends,
Mhm.
even if I don't want it. So, I don't love that aspect of things, but there are so many different types of side hustles that you can do without, like, if you are like me and you don't want to do those things. Like I said, whether you wanna do Uber Eats or DoorDash or go drive for Lyft or Etsy shops,
Mhm.
even social media management. Like, there's so many different types of side hustles that you can do. And if you're not one of those people that wants to have to, like, put yourself out there or go, selling to all of your friends and family, there are other options. And it's frustrating for those people who need it, but don't have the ability to do that because of, like you said, the shame that comes from not just putting more into your full-time job. But when your full-time job is going to take up more time, but it's not going to give back
Yeah,
more,
there's a
like,
salary cap.
yeah, you have to put that shame in a box and put that underneath your bed because that is not gonna pay your bills. You gotta do what you gotta do, and there is no shame in making more money and going to pay bills.
I completely agree. I think so. I didn't have a side hustle per se, but this business was technically a side hustle for a little while but it was more a means to an end. It wasn't like
Yeah.
I'm going to do this on the side for ever to supplement my income. It was like I need to start making money so that I can eventually leave the job and start my life over here. But I was so scared of that. Right. I was so scared that somebody was going to find out. Not that because we weren't in a situation where if they would have found out, they would have been like, you're obviously not committed. You're fired. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been like that at all. But I I didn't want anyone to think that I wasn't putting 100% at my job because and I was traveling all the damn time and I was going all over the place and I had taken on so many more markets at that time. And I'm like, I'm working my ass off. But at midnight on Saturday nights, I am building a website. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I am going to one networking group a month to try and meet people and hope that people will start sending me social media clients or website clients or whatever. And it was so much. And I couldn't even put it out there on social media. Like, I didn't start my social media accounts until I was done at work because I'm like, I don't, again, like when you're salary and you're expected to work kind of around the clock, right?
Yeah.
The day doesn't end at 5 o'clock. And in fact, sometimes it starts heavily at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
They do not, they did not want to see that because it would have looked like I was taking away time from when I should have been working with the restaurants to do this thing on my own. And it's like, no, this was 100% in spare time. Not that I had much, because at
Right.
that point I was probably working 70 to 80 hours a week most weeks. So it's like it barely was okay. I can't imagine someone having the job that we had and having that side hustle. So the people that you've talked about that sold something, I'm like, I could have
Yeah,
never done that.
it's
Not long
crazy, and
term.
they did actually, like, I don't know if you remember, we won't throw out names, but she sold, Herbalife
Oh yeah.
and actually
Hmm.
was doing really, really good at it and wound up leaving her position to do that full time, but I can remember it being a thing where it was like, are you really focused on your job or are you really focused on building the side hustle? Like, what's your priority? As though you shouldn't be able to have both. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit I was judging, but I was also judging from that place of like, burnout where I'm working the 78 hours a week and
Hmm.
stretching myself so thin because I drank the Kool Aid and I'm all in and I'm really trying to be good at what I'm doing. And I'm going, how do you have time to do all of that?
Hmm.
And, you know, looking back now, it's like, maybe she had it figured out. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah,
work
she might
directly
have
with
had it
her, so I
figured
don't know.
out. She might have had it figured out. She might have been taking a lot of time away from the job to do it. Or she might have really just been super efficient with her time,
Yeah.
which none of us were amazing at. And she might have had boundaries that we all admittedly didn't have.
Right.
So who knows? But it also, the good at that job was in the eye of
Oh my god. It
a
was
whole bunch
different
of
for every
people.
single person who was judging it. It was
So
insane.
there's a good chance that she had a different boss than us, she had different market partners than us, she had different, you know what I mean? And they all had different expectations. So she might have had lower expectations on the amount of time that she was supposed to put in. She might have lived, because I think that she was East Coast, which makes it so that her stores are not as far apart as ours were, like
Yeah.
things like that, where you just get a lot of time back in your day when you don't ever have to drive 6 hours, or you don't have to fly anywhere and deal with all that. So, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but I hate thinking about that. I probably judged that a little bit, like, how do you have time for that? Because I put the pressure on myself to be available 24/7. And that is a me problem. And we've talked about that several times. What I want to talk about is the reason that we decided to talk about this was a video that I saw. And this video was this woman saying, I have had a business going. So she works her 9 to 5, and it sounds like it's a 9 to 5. Okay. She has a 9 to 5. She has a business that she's had going for a couple of years. It's still not self-sustaining where she could quit her job and just do her business full time. Not comfortable to her. Like who knows where it's sitting right now, but it doesn't feel comfortable to her to do that. And HR called her and said, "Hey, we heard about your business and we're going to need you to shut it down because you can't do both." And she's like, "I don't have a non-compete. It has nothing to do with this kind of business." Because there are things, it's like, let's say that you have a business, like if we had had a business where we were doing something that maybe we could be stealing byproducts of the restaurant to fund
Yeah.
this business, or maybe we were trying to be a direct competitor, or maybe whatever. There are
Yeah.
things that could have made that a real conflict of interest. But it sounds like these two things, her job and her business, opposite ends of the spectrum, shouldn't have been a problem at all. And they're just like, shut it down. Shut it down, or you can't work here. And she's like, "This is an impossible decision to make because my business isn't making enough money, but it is a significant amount of my income. And I have put thousands of dollars and thousands of hours
Into
and
building
into,
this. Yeah.
yeah." And so you're like, what am I supposed to do? What is she supposed to do?
Like, it sucks because 'cause you're in a catch-22, right? Like, but I don't know that, like, not having a non-compete with that, it's like, what leg do they have to stand on to make you close your business? And I think it probably depends on the type of business that that you're running, like, what exactly is the issue here?
Hmm.
But that rubs me the wrong way. It's funny, like, while you were telling that story, I was thinking about, someone that we worked with that worked in the office. So, not the travel job that we had or whatever, but worked in the office and had a full-time position. It was very much a 9 to 5, but, you know, with growing families and changing lives and all of that stuff, she found herself in a situation needing to get a second job, and so she was waiting tables at another restaurant. Well, mind you, working for a chain of restaurants, that's complicated, right? But if you think about it, it's like she couldn't go work at one of our restaurants because then
Because then she'd have
she's a
overtime. Yep.
salaried employee and you can't be like two different employees, like that gets
Yep.
complicated. But there was like it was a little complicated. I don't believe that she was like made to pick or you know wasn't they ended up figuring it out, but it was like a hurdle that they really had to. I mean, it was like, "What do we need to do to get you out of this, get you out of that restaurant over there?" And it's like, "Pay me more. Give me more." Like,
Yeah, I would
and
love to only
obviously,
have
like
this one job where I made plenty.
right, right,
Yeah.
but, you can't just be like, "I'm gonna go get a second job if you don't pay me more," like, that's not really how it works. Go get a second job if you got to. But, over time, thankfully for her and her family, it worked out to where she doesn't have to do that anymore, but it does complicate things, especially, when you think about the skill sets that you have and what you do with them professionally, it's hard for some people to have a side hustle that's going to be providing a completely different skill or service than what you do in your main job, right? Like, I don't know about you or anybody else who's listening, but I don't just have buckets loads of random talents to go put to use, It's like I got what I got. This is what I have to offer the world. Which is funny. Earlier in the summertime, Paisley, my oldest, got a job and reluctantly got a job. She was kind of forced into getting a job, but that's what happens when you turn 16. But my younger daughter was like, "I really want a job. Like, I can't find," and I was like, "Yeah, no, and I'm not taking you to work every day." But kind of for shits and giggles, we signed up to do DoorDash. And I was like, I mean, this could be like a fun way for us to spend time together. If you want, I'll drive. We'll split what we make. You can run in and, like we'll do this together. This will be fun. Girl, first of all, it was so much fun. We had a blast. We did it for like 4 hours one night. I want to say we did it from like, I don't know, 10 to like 1 or 2 a.m. Like, probably not the best time to be door dashing. But we were having a good time. It was like a Friday night, like whatever. I would do it again in a heartbeat just to spend that kind of time with a teenage daughter that like wants to be with you. But after we split the money that we made, I'm pretty sure we both walked away with like $17. I basically got paid back for my gas driving all around town. And this girl makes $17 for 4 hours. I was like, this is a good time. Like, thankfully it wasn't we weren't doing this because we needed the money. It was like I was just trying to give this child a way to make a little bit of extra cash, but also in a way where we could spend some time together. And it served both purposes, but like I am not trying to spend hours and hours and hours a week for you to make 17.
No, probably not. I'm glad you guys have fun. That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, my first jobs were at about $4 an hour,
Yeah.
you know? So she's making what she would have made in
Uh-huh.
1997. But yeah, that's funny.
The chapstick wasn't $5 in 1997.
Yeah, things are a little bit more expensive. I mean, seriously, you could get McDonald's for $2, like a
Mhm.
whole meal for $2. You're
Mhm.
just like, I drink this water and have this McDouble and this fries. And now a McDouble is probably $4.
Yeah, I was like, it is not that way now.
No.
Ridiculous.
No. So obviously people do find I think that to be fair to anyone listening who's like, I might want to DoorDash, you can make more money than that. They got stuck in some really long lines that night.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, we had, like, the weirdest things happen, like, the Taco Bell was, like, taking 45 minutes, like, it was one of those things, like, I would definitely encourage you, if you wanted to do something like that, maybe don't do it on a weekend night where it's just, like, all the drunk people ordering food or all the drunk people in line at the Taco Bell hogging up all the
Yeah.
space. Maybe that's not the best time. The other thing that I learned though is like whenever you pick up a job on there and you go deliver it or whatever, like it puts you in an area of town, right? Obviously. Well, the jobs that they then throw to you to choose from are they try to keep you in
Nearby.
that same area. Like we wound up like in the ghetto for a little while and I couldn't like get out of that side of town to get back to where maybe we could have gotten away from the Taco Bell that was screwing us over and over and
Yeah,
over
you needed
again.
to get over to the side of town where
Yeah.
people were ordering from restaurants like $50
Right.
meals instead of
Well, and
$8 meals.
sadly, that's why you can't do it at midnight and expect it to be
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's fair. It's all gonna be fast food.
Yeah, I do have a friend that does DoorDash every now and again, and she's like, "Oh, girl, if you ever wanna try that, like, I'll teach you all the tricks. You can actually make some good money." And I was like, "We were just trying to have fun." Like, that was an experiment that was an
Yeah,
epic failure,
but
but,
for anybody, yeah, but for anybody, like, people do make great money driving Uber, people do make great money on Instacart and other
yeah,
things like that. So if you're looking for something because you have this time and you can't sleep at night and, whatever, like, there are definite things that you can do without any skills, right? Because you're like, I got marketing skills, like, what am I gonna
like,
do with
what
this for
else
a
do I
side
have? But
hustle?
you know what else I do have, and I've actually heard this is a really good one. I have shopping skills. The people who like, if you get your groceries delivered from the grocery store or Walmart.com or whatever, it's not just, like, Walmart employees that do that. Like, you can sign up to be a personal shopper and be the person that goes and collects all the things at Walmart or whatever grocery store, or even doing grocery delivery. Like, that's probably where it's at with, like, the tips and things that go into that. I've heard that that is really good.
Well, yeah, and if you know your local grocery stores, like I
It'd
know
be
our
so easy.
Schnucks, yeah. I would never want to shop at a different one because they move everything around and I don't know where
Yeah.
anything's at. But it would be like supermarket sweep in there. I'd be running around collecting all the stuff
Yeah.
as fast as possible.
My god, I missed that show. That was so fun.
Yeah, it was on something a while back when I was somewhere and I was like, look at this, but it was like so like you could barely see it. It was so grainy because it
Yeah,
was made so long ago. There's
because
no
the
HD.
quality yeah.
Yeah, but I was trying to explain it to somebody but it was hard to explain the part that it was on because everyone was just trying to get as many hams as possible. As you remember, hams cost so much money and they're just like loading their cart with hams. Anyway, if you know, you know, supermarket sweep, that's a good show.
That's hilarious. Oh
But
goodness.
anyway, so going back to, this company wanting this woman to close down her business, there are also TikToks that I've seen, and obviously with a grain of salt, I don't know these people. They could be telling the truth. They could be making up stuff. But there are companies who don't even want you to have another job at all, regardless if it's with a competitor or if you work at the bank and you're going to go work at Dollar General at night, like whatever. They do not want you to have another job, anything to take away from their business. And I basically, at the end of the day, do not want any job that I have to worry about what I'm doing outside of work unless I am making their company look bad,
Yeah.
right? Like if there's something that would um make their company look bad, if I'm saying horrible things about the company on social media or something, then sure, you can get upset about what I do in my spare time.
Yeah. That's
But
different.
there are people who do not want their employees to be influencers, even um if they're harmless, right? They're influencers because they're out here doing horrid like
Yeah.
things. They're just talking about their mommy time or their,
Yeah.
like they're doing fun skits about weddings. Like there's so many different creators out there and I don't understand at all as long as you don't talk about where you work in that and
And
tie
it should be
yourself to that.
irrelevant.
I don't see any reason for it not to be.
But I think that a lot of companies, like, want you to fully represent their brand, and when you establish a brand of your own, whether you are, like, a social media influencer or maybe you do sell a product that's a multi-level marketing thing or something to that effect, it's like you skew the way the public views you, and we want you to be an extension of our brand, and that kind of waters down your value to our company. I think that's kind of partially in some cases where that pushback comes from, and that makes sense depending on the job that you do and what is required. And like, if for instance, let's say that your job is very, very community facing and you represent a nonprofit or you represent a business that, from a sales perspective, you need the public to know, like, me, Mandy Holt, I'm your go-to person for XYZ that represents this company. But oh, by the way, I also sell lipstick and candles and, all the stuff on the
Random stuff.
side.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I have this whole other business that really can muddy the waters a little bit from a perception perspective. And I think that makes sense. But I don't know. I think that you really have to look at each of these situations individually, and if you
Yeah.
are
Case
in
by case. Mhm.
you are in a situation where you're like, "This isn't cutting it, and I really need to add something else to my plate," a conversation. The last thing that I would want is for anybody to be put in the situation of the girl in the video that you talked about. That's awful. She's already put all the time, effort, and energy and has built a sustainable business, and she's being asked to give it up. But what did she actually do
And
wrong?
they
Like,
didn't
that's
notice for 2
difficult.
years, so it's not like it's affecting her work is what it sounds
Right.
like to me,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, she gave her story. I don't she didn't give specifics on what kind of business or what kind of, job she had. So, obviously, with all the information, we could be like, "Oh, girl, that might be a little
Yeah.
conflict of interest," or, "I understand why they might feel that way." But in general, this is not the first that I've heard of this, and I don't think that enough companies probably take it on a case by case because I'm going to tell you, there are, those teachers got fired for their OnlyFans last year. You remember that? Like that?
That probably wasn't the most brilliant of side hustles for a teacher.
No. No, because of the lack of morality that some OnlyFans accounts show. I'm not
Uh,
saying all of them, okay? And the need for all the morality that you need, especially in this day and age, to be a teacher, because so many people are looking at you going, are you going to tell my kids something are you going to teach them something that I don't agree with your views? Like you do have to be just ultra careful and not for the school and not for the kids, but for yourself
for
too.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah, to not get yourself in that situation. So there are things like that where I'm like, I hate that it was just a you're fired kind of situation, but that makes a little bit of sense to me because you are dealing with children and their parents, and that's a messy mess, no matter how you slice it. When it's something like, I am a bank teller, I work for this bank, I'm a faceless kind of, like person for this bank. I'm not a VP of anything. And then I also have an Etsy shop because you like to crochet things and you sell them on Etsy. Okay. This is a side hustle. You're taking the passion that you have for this and you're selling it on Etsy. You might be doing some social media posts about it, possibly to send people to your Etsy page. You might, you might have a whole ass page just to show people how to crochet. That is all, that's a hobby at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Can you get mad at
that
me
you're
for my
sharing with
hobby?
people.
Yeah, and the fact that I make some money off of it is me making money off of my hobby. That is not even me showing the world that this bank doesn't pay me enough. This is just, I have this hobby.
I'm
I
just
like to
sharing a
teach.
passion.
Yes, right? And you could easily still have somebody upset with you because they want to take your whole time, even though you don't take a bank teller job home after work, right?
Yeah, you can't.
That's not a situation I've heard of, and I'm not sure that that happens. But there are a lot of companies who are like, we need you to be, it's just us, just you work for us, and your contract says that you only work for us. And so, obviously, if you're thinking about starting a side hustle, just make sure that you don't have something like that in your
Yeah.
contract. And if you're using the same skills that you use at your job, you might want to make sure that you don't have a non-compete. Although I think that non-competes are dead now. I'm pretty sure that they are. They last year they did something
I
about
was gonna say, now
non-competes.
that you say that, I feel like something did recently
I
change.
don't know if they have ever figured out the C-suite ones because I know that those were staying for a little while. But if you're in the C-suite, you're probably not. You probably
You
don't
probably
also
don't
have
need
an
a
Etsy
side
shop.
hustle.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably not.
probably
But
not.
what I do think is smart to address is the difference between those people who have a side hustle or want a side hustle to make ends meet, and those people who are hustling on the side as sort of a launch pad out of their careers, and how
Hmm.
that can shift what the kind of narrative from your full-time job can look like. Because that's kind of the situation that you were in, and honestly, the situation I was in, I was already doing work with you before I left and kind of
Hmm.
figuring out how to juggle both for a little bit until we could make it work, and it is complicated, and I can understand, on the corporate side of things, how it's like, make sure that you're dotting all your I's and crossing your T's over here before you focus over here. I can see how that is a thing, but, if you find yourself in that boat where you're looking for a side hustle to be a means to an exit strategy, it may be worth taking that risk. It may be worth, having the conversation to make sure that you're, not going to be stepping on any toes or whatever to be able to go full force at it. I don't know if I would ever feel right about the sneaky way of doing it. Kind of like the video, like she's doing it for
Yeah,
years before it ever. And I don't even know that she made it a secret, you know,
it's just not something she
specifically.
talked about all the
She just
time.
didn't
Yeah.
talk about it,
Hmm.
yeah, but, transparency can sometimes bite you in the butt, but I think it's probably a best case scenario if you're wanting to really go full force with it and not be, shady at all in the
Yeah.
dealings.
Let people know. I mean, obviously, I kept that I wanted to leave a secret, but not from the people who needed to know to start getting my replacements ready, and
Yeah.
I spent time finding and mentoring and making sure that we were ready for them to be hired and take over. I don't know if the same thing would have happened if I had a different boss, though, because she was very supportive and she did everything to set everybody up for success. If I didn't have the same kind of relationship, it might have seemed a little more shady, I guess we'll say, because I wasn't taking there was no way I could have taken time away from the job, because I was working so much and I was out of town all the time, but I was taking my weekends to screw around with it, and I I do think that it's good, though, like you said, just to be a little bit honest. Some people can't though, because their boss would just be like,
Yeah.
we're not your first priority anymore, so you're not gonna work out here." That could
Yeah, but
totally happen to people.
that's kinda why I wanted to go down that list of, like, I do believe there are side hustles that you can do to make ends meet if you need to, that maybe they don't find out about. Like, maybe they don't know that you deliver groceries on the weekend, or that you have an Etsy page, or, there's so many different types of side hustles that you can do that can be nameless, faceless operations and still bring in that coin. You don't necessarily have to go sign up with an MLM and use your social media for all of those things that are going to just really shine a light on the fact that you are splitting your attention.
Yeah. Something that I really love and that I had planned to do more when I was like right after I quit and I was doing my business full time, but there was only so much work to do. Like I was promoting it everywhere. I was doing a ton of networking, but there just wasn't that much work, and I'm like, I have to figure this out. But something that I'd planned to do and never really got rolling was affiliate marketing. And it's not for everybody, but obviously I already like social media. It seemed like it would be a good fit. But if you've ever seen any of the videos that people make for TikTok Shop, um or talking about things in their Amazon store or things like that, that's all affiliate marketing. And basically, you just find a product that you like and you sign up to sell it, get a seller link, and then you just do videos about how awesome this product is. And when people buy it with your link, then you get a percentage. And especially I love TikTok Shop because those things can go viral so fast because
Yeah.
some of these products are so cool. But also, I love Amazon's affiliate program because if I am telling you about some headphones, let's say, and you're like, I love those headphones, and she says that they're great, so I'm going to go and buy them with her link, I get a cut of everything that's in your cart too. And if you guys
Not
are
just the
like me,
product that you linked.
the entire cart. So if you're like me and you just keep stuff in your cart all the time, and then sometimes you go in and you just hit buy it all, that's who I'm looking for,
Yeah.
right? So I think that that's awesome. And I think that also on social media, you can specifically TikTok, you can make it so that people in your contact list do not see your videos. So you're not trying to sell to your friends and you're not getting in front of all your coworkers with your
Right.
possibly cringy little videos, right? And it's a fun way to be creative, I think, to find a way to sell something to someone without selling it to them. And I had planned, but then I got busy and there just wasn't time to put into posting a couple times a day about the different products, and so I didn't do it. But
Yeah.
you can literally sell products, you can sell courses, you can sell anything that people are selling for dollars. You can sell it and get a portion of it, and it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and bringing it back to, our general overall purpose in the avoidance of burnout, I think that this could go one of two ways, right? If you already have a demanding job and you are needing to add a side hustle, you could exacerbate burnout really easily just by burning the candle at both ends, for sure. But sometimes burnout comes from that mental exhaustion of you don't think about anything besides what it is that you're focused on at work. If you're smart about the side hustle, making sure that it's something that you're passionate about or something that excites you, it could alleviate that whole concept for you. Just giving you something else to think about and somewhere else to put your energy, um, to give you a break from the mental stress of whatever it is that is tipping you over the edge in your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's
I
food for
love,
thought.
love that. I love that because, yeah, if you are turning your passion into something that you're selling, right? So I don't ever plan to do this because I don't want the pressure of it, but I love to do those chunky blankets.
Yeah,
And if I had more time or, like well, I've kind of gotten to a point where pretty much everybody has gotten one as a gift, so it's like
yeah.
maybe I will start to sell them because if I want to do them, they're just going to be sitting here. But that would be a good thing. Now, I'm gonna wanna sell 1 a month because I don't want the pressure of having to make it when I don't feel like it, but it's not to be a full-time job. It's just to put your passion out there
It's
and make
kind
an
of a
extra
way
30 bucks, you
yeah,
know?
it's a way for you to pay for getting to do something that
Your
you already
hobby.
enjoyed doing. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
which could be really valuable.
Mhm. I completely agree because this is kind of, I mean, it's not like golf, it's not that expensive of a
Yeah,
hobby, but like it costs to make a blanket, it costs like 60 bucks, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's not free. It's not a free hobby,
right.
you know?
God,
So
are there free hobbies anymore? Goodness, unless you just wanna jog.
I was gonna say reading. I guess reading is free if you go to the library, but otherwise, that's just expensive too. An
Yeah,
ebook is $12. Like you
everything
didn't even
is.
have to print that. You
Yeah,
just sent it to my phone. Yeah.
seriously. Rude.
Anyway, I'm not gonna complain about the price of books, but I I do think that we have had this conversation before, and I just wanna bring it back to sometimes you just need money, extra money, and that's what a side hustle is for, and sometimes you need to find your passion outside of work because you are not at all stimulated by the work that you're doing, and if you need to turn it into a side hustle, I'll fight somebody if they wanna make you not do that, like,
Yeah.
that's not the coolest, so
Yeah, I think the way that you approach that is really, really important. If you find yourself in that situation where you are approaching burnout and you need a side hustle for cash or you need a hobby for whatever, like if you're able to mesh the two of those things together and start to do something that fills your cup but also fills your wallet, I think that's freaking incredible. And you may have to try a couple of things before you find the one that really like lights you on fire, you know?
mhm, yep, and they're not all created equally, and you have to figure out how to fit them into your life so you don't have a second full-time job that just happens on the weekends and at night, right?
Yeah, more
So
stress.
yeah. Like, I wish that I could find a side hustle. Again, I'm not looking for a side hustle. It sounds like I am from this episode, but I'm not. But if
Yeah.
I could find a side hustle that would make it so that I would walk more, like, that's what I need
You
because I
need to
need
go
the
deliver papers and just walk and toss.
I
Walk
heard
and
that that is very lucrative.
yeah. Uh-huh.
People when I was a kid, I always wanted a paper route, and my parents were like, "You would never wake up." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You're right. Bye. We won't
No,
talk
thank
about
you.
this anymore." But, like, my friends who did it, they made, like, pennies to do a like, when you really break down how much you make.
And you have to wake up, like, before the sun, like, absolutely not. There's
Yeah.
nothing about my child self that was gonna there's nothing about my adult self that's gonna do that, so
No, but what I'm saying is besides, delivering papers, there might be other things, and it's good to pick up a side hustle if you want one that will push you to do something else that you need to be
yeah,
doing. Mhm.
something good for you. I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
think this is
agree.
a really cool conversation, if nothing else, like open your mind to the creativity of what you can do. I mean, I think that we all get into a negative headspace when it comes to finances sometimes and, you know, feeling a little bit trapped or whatever. Salaried jobs and sometimes even hourly jobs can really make you feel that way where you feel stuck, you feel like there's a little bit of a ceiling, but maybe there's a side door that you can go through that'll open up some opportunities and do a little research, figure out what it is that you would like to do, assess your skill sets and you know, figure out what you have to offer the world and be unique about it. And I guarantee you, you might find a opportunity for some creative outlet as well as some financial freedom. And don't let shame stop you because we're all guilty of it. Okay. Like
Mhm.
pot calling kettle black. I'll give you that. But it's bullshit. Don't do that.
Yeah. I
Not
agree.
shameful to want more money to eat.
Yeah, because it's so expensive to eat right now.
I know.
It just really is. Okay, well, on that note, everyone go have a good week. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.